So once again, here is my wonderful audience for my speech. All right.
And I gotta press anything?
Nope, you just gotta hold it down. All right. Today my speech is going to delve into the variance in culture through cinema. Has anyone in the audience seen any foreign films? You have? Great. First off, I have to express my opinion on the fact that American remakes of foreign films need to stop. American directors seem to miss the biggest reason behind why foreign films are so great. By watching these films, I've noticed a big difference in filmmaking, from the acting to the cinematography to the overall difference in culture. I'm mainly going to be speaking of the horror genre, as that too is my favorite to watch. So with that, I begin with Japanese horror, because I believe more people in the United States have seen these movies from this specific culture. You see, in the early 2000s, American remakes of movies such as The Ring, The Grudge, and Pulse, etc. have become a cultural fad, which then lead Americans alike to seek out the original movies, entitled Ringu and Ju-on. From my friends and other movie buffs, I found that less people enjoyed the original movies because a lot of the interlying points were lost in translation, which I feel is a shame, because in my opinion, the original work was amazing, and the different style of storytelling had me invested throughout the movies. Ghost stories are infamous in Japanese culture because of their beliefs as to what happens when we pass away. And since this is emblazoned in their minds, that makes the horror more surreal and fun. You can even notice a big difference even between Japanese and Korean movies. My favorite Japanese director is Takashi Miike. He has made some of the most insane and realistically gory films. He takes the culture of the Yakuza and brings these stories to life. He has his own stylized way of forming these certain worlds. So many of his films will have scenes that will stick in your mind and haunt your nightmares. Moving forward, I just want to speak quickly about a certain film that is regarded as one of the most horrific movies ever made, and I do believe it is still banned and illegal to sell in America. This film is called a Serbian film. I won't go into depth of the movie because the subject matter is just that grotesque. But after seeing that film, I can assure you, for one, no one should ever see this film, especially if you're faint of heart or easily shocked and or offended. However, the culture shock from Serbia is definitely way different from ours. Now, I'd like to go into French horror. The French, by far, produce some of the most original and best horror films to date. I have a wide variety of French horror in my collection. These various directors tell these stories in such a way that the gore and inhumanity of what is happening turns into art. Over the past 5 years, American directors, I guess, have caught wind as to how amazing French films are, to a point where they felt it necessary to remake 2 masterpieces entitled Martyrs and Inside. Now, the French version of these movies are some of the greatest I've ever seen. Martyrs is one with a serious religious undertone that leads to what be considered a fever dream. It also has a very shocking ending. Americans took their hand at this remake and it was just awful. I guess they thought if they had upped the gore and torture appeal that people would like it, but that's not the case. There was a much deeper meaning behind what was actually going on, and the American directors completely lost the feeling of dread and almost feel like I was watching one of those modern PG-13 flop fests. Even with Inside, the French version had you actually feeling for the antagonist and understanding why she was doing what she was doing. In the American version, the whole plot was muddied and the plight of the antagonist had just turned her into a monster. The artistic touch and value diminished as I feel American directors lose the vision, most likely because of producers and production companies. Don't get me wrong, there are some great American horror directors like John Carpenter, but modern directors have a way to go before they can take on these overseas remakes. Another American remake, Quarantine, is based off the Spanish horror franchise Rec or Record. In Quarantine, there was a huge point where the characters were being attacked by zombies instead of demons from hell or zealots from hell that were linked to the main host. I feel the American version may have rushed the production and just got lazy with the writing as opposed to doing the original material justice. So hopefully from my little bit of information you kind of get an idea as to how the American culture has completely changed the way of what foreign films are. And the whole intercultural experience is that Americans are lazy and foreign films are more artistic than ours. Thank you.
Yay.